I would love in the next, year to have some great success stories of Latinas that have really made it
Let's
and
do
have
it.
these big contracts. Yeah, absolutely.
Sí,
There's
cuenta
no
conmigo.
reason. There's
Yeah,
no reason. There's no
yeah.
reason. I mean, we have the whole package, for God's sake.
Thanks for tuning in to this episode of I Have Something to Say, where subject matter experts are unafraid and unapologetic about sharing their perspectives regarding issues that impact our lives. They speak up because basically they give a shit. So if you're tired of canned answers and want to finally hear real people cut through the BS and talk about real issues, this is the podcast for you. I'm your host, Sami Heyman Marrero from Urbender, and behind our mixer is our producer, Chris Majoka from UdoU.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to this exciting episode of I Have Something to Say. I am very, very happy to have my dear friend Lourdes Mola from Lourdes Mola Solutions here today because, my goodness, Lourdes, what have you not done in the business environment? Welcome, welcome, welcome. How are
Uh,
you?
Good. How are you? I am so excited to be part of this show. I mean, I have been watching you for years, and then when we had the opportunity the other day to speak, I go, I have a lot to say. I want to be on the show.
Yes,
So,
absolutely. And I've been wanting to get you on the show, and particularly because of the wealth of knowledge that you have. You really bring a unique perspective because a lot of us entrepreneurs, right, or people who work also in advocacy for small businesses have been in the corporate sector, for a few years, but you had like a lifetime in the corporate sector. You were in the corporate sector from entry point to sea level. So you experienced all of that. And now, it's been a few years now that you've also
yeah.
been an entrepreneur, but you come with this very unique lens of understanding the mindset, right, of executives in the corporate sector, again from point of entry to sea level, and what their needs, what their mindsets are, what makes them tick in every level, but in also in multiple departments, because you also have worked in everything from community relations to marketing to procurement to
Yeah.
government affairs. I mean, the full gamut, because the span of your career in the corporate sector was right that broad. And so anyway, thank you for joining me today, because as part of the solutions that your company offers as the founder and president of Lourdes Mola Solutions is really empowering small businesses. And I know that you're working directly now with WBENC, right? The
Yeah.
Women Business Enterprise Council. And I thought that it would be very pertinent to have this conversation now, right? About the power of women entrepreneurs, about the importance of certification, about our role in changing, the business ecosystem and changing the narrative on how the business dynamics, how do you say, are executed or implemented, and all of that good stuff, given that now you're in it, right? Like you're
Yeah.
in it and working directly specifically with this council. So talk to me first a little bit about your background so people understand, right? Your the wealth of your
Absolutely.
experience. Mm-hmm.
So I have the all the scars for all the years of corporate in corporate world. I worked for Royal Caribbean Cruise Line for 9 years, then Celebrity Cruise Line in Miami, and then came as the on the opening team for Disney Cruise Line, and stayed with Disney in multiple capacities for over 20 years. Uh, was in minority business development, director of sales, corporate citizenship. So was deeply rooted in our community and in our sourcing and procurement for Disney, and our corporate citizenship on a local and national scale. So about 7 years ago, I decided to go off on my own. And it was interesting because I think like everything in life, Sammy, it wasn't a plan. It really wasn't. I mean, my mom ended up, unfortunately, she died of cancer, and it was a challenging time for me and my kids. And my mom's voice was in my head constantly telling me, you know what, you're juggling a lot of balls, but things are falling. And
Mm.
when you have
Yeah.
kids, I kept saying to myself, my kids, I work because I want to give my kids everything. And but what they needed the most was my time.
Right.
And so we made a decision in my family, and I decided that I was going to leave the corporate world. And I started getting some great opportunities to do some consulting work. And so it organically started. Um, did some work with SeaWorld, did some work with Visit Florida. And then I just said, you know what, I'm gonna go ahead and start my company. And I was blessed to get a contract with Walmart, the number one Fortune 100 company, right? Fortune 500 company, and did a lot of corporate citizenship, community relations,
Mm-hmm.
and looked at their corporate citizenship and values and so forth, and how to get them into the community, and started working with other companies, Wholesome de Puerto Rico. We launched products together, some nonprofit work, um, and it has been exhilarating. And one of the big things that really prompted me when I started Lourdes Mola Solutions was I wanted, you needed some kind of anchor, right? Like, so Walmart became the anchor, but I wanted to help small businesses. That's why I was involved with all the chambers and everything else. Because when I was in minority business development, Sammy, te digo, I remember being at a table with business owners that had the best product, right? They had the best table, they had the best pricing, but they wouldn't get those contracts. They wouldn't get those contracts because they didn't know how, they didn't know the buzzwords. They didn't know how to present themselves. They didn't, they didn't have those relationships to be able to even get to the table at one point. So I said, you know what? My dad was a business owner and wasn't a great one. And every one of those businesses, I felt like, you know what, I could really help them. And that's what Lourdes Mola Solutions does. It helps, small businesses grow. My tagline is fuel your business. But I had this unique opportunity this year, and I said, you know what, I want to do more. And I started working a lot with WBENC at a national level when I was at Disney. So I'm a certified business owner and so forth. Is to work with the local, with Florida and Puerto Rico, of how do we get our specifically our Hispanic women businesses at the table, and
Right.
unapologetically, I
Mm-hmm.
am very focused on the Hispanic market because we are not at the table. You know, WeBank has over 22,000 women that are certified. It's such a small percent of Hispanic businesses. And how can we do better? And how can we as a community support these women so they can get those contracts, so we could build generational wealth, which is the key at the end, right? Because you want to be able to support the family. You want to be able to, provide a good education for your kids. You want to do all these things, but you need to make money. And these contracts aren't being given to these women.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's it and I'm glad, oh my goodness, I'm so glad that you're representing this organization. And I know that you show up on other boards in the community, and we've talked behind the scenes also, right, about sharing just ideas and sometimes even ranting and
Yeah.
venting, right, out of frustration, because it is very, very challenging. It's you know that it's by design, and it's important to be able to have an advocate in those spaces. And I'm thankful, that you're a consultant now, because I feel that you're going to bring a new perspective. And not only that, las herramientas, right? The
Yeah.
tools to move things along and to make things happen and really affect change. And I got to tell you, a mentor like you know, named by, you know, Orlando Magazine in 2020 as women, you know, as one of the women who means business, because no joke, you really do mean business. And it's and I feel like your reputation is very strong also, you know, in the marketplace, and not only here locally, but you know, across state lines. And so I think that there's a lot of value in that. Now, question to you, what is the importance of becoming certified as a women owned business, right? Because we're used to, you know, minority owned and all of that, but do you feel that, you know, in this day and age, we're seeing a transition to really leverage the gender gap in terms of finding better opportunities to be able to scale our businesses?
So, yes, simple answer, I do. But let me tell you what the importance of certification is. It validates you as a business, number one, right? As a woman-owned business. Second is now you're in this network of over 450 partners. These partners, these corporate partners have said, you know what, I am going to do business with women-owned businesses before anybody else. So
Mm,
that gives you a leg up, right? So you're not guaranteed the contract. You're never going to be guaranteed the contract, but you just
mm-hmm.
want to get to the table. You want to have a fighting chance of getting these contracts. So, you know, that plus a lot of the times these businesses do these RFPs, and you know this, that there's not one company that can take that RFP. But
Right.
now you can go in and work with 22,000 other women that you can look and network and say, look, let's go on this together. Because I think one of the key words, and we've talked about this, is collaboration.
Yes.
That is how we are going to get ahead. And you know, I think Hispanic women do that really well. And doing and going through this organization and doing that, I feel like we are at the verge of really lifting each other up. You know
Yes.
that, you know, high tides lift all boats, or I always mess up these sayings because I my mind thinks in Spanish. But
Yeah.
you know what I'm trying to say is, you know what,
Yeah.
it's about, you know, and I think the gender piece is huge,
Yeah.
you know, and what I've always liked about WeBank overall, and from a national and Florida, not because I'm working with them now, but I've always loved this about them, is it's not just about certification. You know, certification is a piece, right? But it is also about championing you, negotiating with you, talking to you about where you should be, because you know, a lot of times you see these we always underestimate ourselves. You
Mm-hmm.
know, we don't ask for what we should receive. And having this board of advisors, and you could think of it as a bigger board of advisors, because you have over 1,000 um, women-owned businesses right here in Florida. um, you have that at your fingertips, and it's
Mm-hmm.
so much easier than going and talking to, you know, another certifying company that, you know, might do similar. But I think that networking piece is big for me, and the championing.
That's great. So does it function like a chamber? Is there membership fees and stuff like that,
So
or
there's a
is it
certification fee, and that
okay?
certification fee starts at $350. It's a scale
Mm-hmm.
for $1 million and under. The business a
Okay.
$1 million and under, and then it goes up depending on what you need. But they do have events. They do have a lot of national development programs, which are great because some are done with the universities. Tú
Yes.
sabes, there's a lot of opportunities. Y como todo, you know, it's what you put into it. Because,
Right.
you know, when I was at the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, I talked to people all the time. I said, look, I am a member of 3 gyms. Okay. Obviously, I am not going to the gym, so I'm not getting what I need from it. So, si tú no vas and you're not present and you're not going to get what you need. But
Right.
to me, certification is one element of it.
Absolutely. So no, and that's great. And so How do people connect with WeBank? Is it just a website, or is it a requisite to go to a local meeting and to attend before you apply? I mean,
Well, there's a number of different things. So we do have the website, which is
mhm.
www.wbecflorida.org, and we'll
Okay.
put it on the chat afterwards. But we do have a number of different events. There's Miami, Tampa, Jacksonville, that we have, meet and greets, so what's going on. We're actually March 7th for International Women's Day. We're doing an event here at the National Entrepreneur Center.
Oh,
We're
right
working,
here. Yeah,
yes,
right here in
and
Orlando.
and straight off the press, okay? Hispanic Federation
Mhm.
has graciously is going to scholarship 10 women business owners.
Nice. That's
So
great.
look, go on Hispanic Federation, because
Mm.
on her Facebook, she said she's going to announce it on her Facebook. But that's straight off the press. So I think
Mhm.
that's going to be great, just to jumpstart our community. We need
Yes.
to get at this table, Sammy. If not,
Hmm.
if you're not on the, what is that? If you're not on the menu, you're on
No, if you're
what
not
is
at the
the
table, you're
table,
on
you're
the
on the
menu.
menu. Yeah, eso
Yeah.
mismo. Eso
Yeah.
mismo.
Yeah. And the process, okay, so quick question. If you've already applied and received your certification with other entities, for example, right? Just for argument's sake, I have with the city of Orlando. The
Yeah.
process should be easier, no?
Yeah.
Because then you
Yeah.
already have the
Because you already
document.
have all the paperwork.
Exactly. Okay,
Yeah.
cool. And I got to tell you, they all of these, well, not the government ones, but most certifying organizations require some kind of fees, right, for processing
Yeah.
the documentation and stuff. But it's so worth it, especially if, as you describe it, if you have access to companies that are being very intentional and engaging with women-owned businesses. I think that that's really great. Now, from a diversity standpoint, what do you see in terms of inclusiveness and having a more of a, how do you say, embracing environment, at these events and the networking opportunities?
Well, I think, I mean, just by them contracting, Lourdes Mola Solutions, I think
Yeah.
it speaks volumes. They
Yes.
understand where the growth is coming from the
Hmm.
community and want to make sure that we're present. So I think that's, that opens doors, right? So how do we, and now that the doors open, how do we come in and
Yes.
make sure that we're there, and that, there's their national conference is over 4,000 people. It's in March, and it's in Nashville. I mean, another
Hmm.
great opportunity for women business owners. And Sammy, I think you and I have had this conversation. I think that as Hispanics, sometimes we don't want to get out of our comfort zone,
Yes.
and we need to get out of our comfort zone. We
Hmm.
need to feel. Si estás cómoda, no estás aprendiendo. No,
Right.
you have to get out of that, and get, if and grow. And in order to grow, you have to feel comfortable with being uncomfortable.
Yes, yes, totally. So then this certification, does it apply only for the states? So if you go through this, or is it a
No,
national?
this is the national
Nice. I
certification.
love
This
that.
is the national certification, because WBEC Florida, Puerto Rico is part of the overall WeBank, which is the
Okay.
national council, Women Business Enterprise National Council.
That's great. I want to say that and I'm just, this is a confession moment right now, that I, always felt like eso no es para mí, right?
Yeah,
Because again, it wasn't to me, and I'm at fault, right? For
yeah,
I don't want to say being comfortable, but for being apprehensive. That's a good word,
yeah,
right? About
yeah.
I'm not sure. And I got to really give it to WeBank for bringing you into the fold, right? With your expertise and your knowledge of our people and what makes us tick, you know, because just by virtue of you being, their representative or their sounding board with regards to, growing their engagement with diverse communities. Now I feel compelled, right? And
Good. I'm glad.
attracted to, yes. And so now I'm going to look into it because I
Good.
want to, I mean, now I understand the value, but it's because I really didn't have a direct connection. You know how it is. It's about,
It's
the six.
invitation.
It's invitation. It's feeling in familia. It's feeling like,
Belong,
oh,
that you belong.
exactly. And so then now I'm like, okay, let me find out that now Lourdes is, is working
Yeah.
with WeBank. And so this is really exciting. I can't wait. It sounds like a really great opportunity to
I'm really
to
excited for our
broaden to
community.
broaden our social capital too, that
Yeah.
we're not just in like these buckets or in these pockets within our business ecosystem, but really trying to weave, right, ourselves into all of these different spaces and make those relationships work for us.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I, like I said, one of the pieces is certification, but that doesn't stop there.
Mm-hmm.
It's about the championing you, the development. How do we, I mean, simple things like, capability statements. You'd be surprised how many companies do not have their capability statements.
Right.
So there's a whole session, and going out there and talking to people and say, look, what do you need? What do you need to feel comfortable, presenting to, Universal, or presenting to Duke, or to whoever? What do you need? And
Right.
see if we can move the needle on this.
That's
Because
fantastic.
I would love in the next, year, to have some great success stories of Latinas that have really made it
Let's
and
do
have
it.
these big contracts. Yeah, absolutely.
Te
There's
cuenta
no
conmigo.
reason. There's
Yeah.
no reason. There's no
Yeah.
reason. I mean, we have the whole package, for God's sake.
Yeah.
You know, so there's no reason why we can't do it.
So question, do you guys partner other organizations that are women led?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
fantastic. Okay,
Absolutely. I think collaboration is key. I'm going to be doing something with Hapwa soon,
nice.
which I
Okay,
know you
good.
were the
I
president.
I just made it on the board of United Latinas,
Oh,
so
okay. So
yeah, so, which
let's
is a national organization too. So that would be interesting to see,
yeah,
right? If
yeah,
maybe you guys can come in and give like
absolutely.
a presentation, because I know that we're planning out the schedule for the rest of the year. So I think that would be a great opportunity. Also with Latinas in tech, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
there's so many organizations that I think that that
There's a
have good,
lot of opportunities,
yeah,
and it's about getting the message, and it's about the courage to go, to
yeah,
move forward, because it
yeah.
takes courage. It's
Hmm.
this is not an easy road. Putting an RFP together is grueling,
Yeah,
but we can do it. And
yeah.
especially if you have somebody on the other side and says, "Look, I just did this. Here, cut and paste this, and you'll be okay." I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, it's a journey, Sammy, and we've been in this grind for a long time, and but if we don't do anything, what our the women coming after us, they're gonna have the same challenges that we've had.
Absolutely. And I think that in the end, that's the biggest reward, is to knowing that you're making it easier for
For the next generation.
the next gal that comes along
Yeah.
and decides to run her own business and experience this sense of freedom, right?
Yeah.
That comes with running your own company. So I think that
Yeah.
that's really great. So what would your advice be for women who are not certified yet, right? Like, what are like the key takeaways of the benefits of doing so? And not to only focus on the small business aspect of the minority, which is obviously important, but also the gender aspect, right? The being female.
I think my advice is take a look, go on the website, do a little bit of homework, and see if this is for you. I mean, if you don't want to grow nationally, if you're happy making this a hobby, that you have don't do it. It's not worth it. But if you really want to scale, and you know And if, let's say, and you want to, entrepreneurship is lonely. So you want to have a group of like-minded women that you want to be a part of, then this may be for you as well. So, I mean, just my advice is always do the homework and read up on it. You could put my information on here, Sammy, if they want to just give me a call. I'll be happy to talk to any, to especially, women business owners. But, don't let, if you really want to grow, don't let anything stand in your way.
Right.
You know, let's talk. Let's see how we can do this. What are your aspirations? This is the new year, right?
Mm-hmm.
Blank canvas. We have 365 days now to, well, not, we already killed a couple of days, but we have 365 days. How are you going to make a difference? And what is that book going to say at the end?
Yes, absolutely. And getting certified could be
Good.
one of those things on the bucket list to
Yeah.
ensure that you have a tool to gain access to
Yep.
bigger and better opportunities if that's what you wish to do.
If that's what you want to do.
Right.
Yep,
Right.
absolutely.
Exactly.
I mean, everybody, your vision board, I mean, like mine, eat healthy, all that stuff. But a lot of it is for women business owners. It's how do we scale,
Mm-hmm.
right? What is our plan? Well,
Mm-hmm.
like you said, this is a tool for you to do that. And it's, it takes you, an hour or so to a couple of hours, put the paperwork together. Some of us already have that, and it's the best $350 you're going to spend.
Yeah, and also the access to committees. I'm sure you have committees, and that's how you build those relationships of trust that are the ones that are really going to support your growth too, because then you have like this tribe of people you can lean into,
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely.
at a moment's notice. And so that, yeah, so I that to me is very, very appealing, because sometimes it's like I want to rip my hair out, you know.
And
And
and what it is that it's not just in your Central Florida, right?
yeah.
Let's say I'm working with someone that is in Texas. Now
Mhm.
it's giving me a database of all of these other women-owned businesses that I could do business with, that I can call.
Yes. Yeah,
So,
that's
it's a sisterhood, right? Of
and you know
of
how I am. I'm always out. So I'm one of those people that's constantly looking for opportunities outside of, our region, because I just feel that, sometimes uh people outside of your market, unfortunately, right?
value you
My
more.
Yes, exactly. Or see, right? Are Because sometimes it's like your kids. When you see your kids grow and then you see a relative that you haven't seen in a long time, they say, "Oh my God, como creció ese muchacho," right? They're so big, and you're like, "Oh, but you see them all day, so you don't realize the time that had the value of that time that has passed, and impacted the growth of this child, right?" So the same with business, since people sometimes are so up close and personal, and a lot of times, quite frankly, when you go to these networking events, it's like family, so
Yeah.
you start talking about other stuff, because that's just the nature of this market, right? It's very small in a way, in the sense where
Yeah.
everybody knows each other, that you feel more compelled to get into the grind, get into the hustle, really sell yourself, right, more outwardly into other markets, and then people tend to gravitate towards you, in that way. But it's interesting. I'm going to put this to the test, and experiment, and hopefully it'll be a positive case study. At the end of this
Absolutely.
year, go through
Absolutely.
this WBENC experience here locally, and then see how that opens doors here at the local level. I think that would be pretty damn cool.
Yeah, and
To
we should,
have
I
a
mean,
follow.
we can do like an update.
Yes, let's do it.
Yeah, like
Let's do
Sammy's
it. We'll do it
experience. Sammy's
right
experience.
before the holidays this year. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So I was going to tell you a funny story about
Go ahead.
the appreciation. So my daughter, I mentor a lot of girls, right? I have a 20-year-old, which doesn't want I try to give her advice, but of course doesn't listen. And she the other day sent me a note. She goes, "Oh, my friend, this one wants to talk to you and wants time on your calendar." And she goes, "I don't understand that. I don't understand how these." And I go, "Because I have a lot to share. I have a lot to say, Gabby, but you don't appreciate it." So yeah. So when you're close, they don't appreciate everything you have to say.
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
it's funny.
Totally. So it real that's what it is that sense of comfort that you mentioned, right? Of familia, of
Yep.
proximity. So
Yeah.
then, yeah, it's like you don't value what's right in front of
Yep.
you.
Yep.
But
Yep.
I value you. Lourdes,
Oh,
I really do value you. I'm so excited that you've shared all of this information, and I'm on it. I'm totally on it. By the end of this month, I'm definitely gonna fill out my paperwork, and hopefully,
well,
we have
I'm
something
here
to
to help, and I
celebrate.
would love,
Yes.
of course, to do a second, part two,
Oh, we're
and talk
doing
about your
this.
experience. Talk
Oh,
about your
totally.
experience and see where we are, and because I think that's the key, right? And we're gonna get better by making sure that that we're listening.
Yeah.
If not, nothing happens. But I think at the end of this is about the success stories and lifting our community and making sure that we have more women at the table.
Totally. And that's what we're gonna do. So the
All right.
first contract that we get, that Urbander gets, thanks to the WBENC uh
Certification.
certification, and obviously I'll do due diligence and go through the
Yeah, yeah,
our for the
yeah.
process and all of that. We're gonna celebrate by doing a follow-up and talk about the experience, and then do a little jiggy dance,
Yeah, I like
to
it. I like
celebrate.
it.
Okay, I
All
love it.
right.
Okay, good. So we've
Perfect.
got a deal. Okay, pinky promise.
Pinky promise.
Okay, nada, mama, mira, te quiero.
Me
Thank you so
too.
much for all
Thank
you
you.
do. Thank you for
Thank you.
all you
Thank you.
do.
Thank you so much. Love you. All right.
Love
Take
you
care.
too.
Bye
Bye
bye.
bye.
This concludes this episode of I Have Something to Say. We want to thank you for tuning in. Don't forget to tell your friends about us. We're on Spotify and iTunes as well. There's more to come next week. And remember, if you have something to say, it's time to speak up.